Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to start by talking about Clonorchus sinensis. This is also known as the Chinese liver fluke. This worm is actually endemic to Asia. It's super common. So there's a definitive host, which is the human, and the intermediate host is the snail, and then it has a second intermediate host as a fish. And so this is super common in Asia because these individuals will eat fish that are raw. And it's kind of, I mean, like we eat turkey on Thanksgiving. They eat specific types of fish, specific times of year. So it's just their tradition. It's what they do. And so you get these adults that are found in the bile duct of individuals. They feed off of bile. The eggs are released in fecal matter. The eggs are eaten by snails. And then we have cercaria that are released from the snails that penetrate fish. The fish get these little cercaria that penetrate them. They turn into metacercaria, which are little cysts within the fish, and then humans eat those fish with the metacercaria. So let's look at the life cycle. I've added it on here. Get it to work. There we go. There we go. All right, so we start right here. We have these eggs that are passed in fecal matter. And again, a lot of these areas, the feces gets into fresh water. And so now we have this feces here, or that snails, the eggs are in the water, snails eat the eggs. Within the snail, cercaria are formed, so they hatch, and you have these little cercaria that leave the egg or leave the snail. The cercaria get into fish, and the fish then, within the fish, the cercaria form metacercaria, and they just kind of sit there and wait for a human to eat the fish. Once the human eats the fish, the metacercaria transforms into the adult worm. It's just Clonorchus, and it will then move to the bile duct and start enjoying your nutrients. So the next group that we're going to talk about are cestodes. Cestodes are flat worms. So they have very flat bodies with no digestive system. They basically absorb nutrients. They're very simple structurally. They have a head on one end, and that head has the scolex, which attaches to the human or the host. And then they have segments, and as the segments move farther away from the head, they get filled with eggs. So flatworms, these worms actually have both male and female structures. So they're called monoecious, or they're hermaphroditic. They can actually have sex with themselves, producing more worms or more eggs. And so the structures that are farthest away from the head or the scolex contains eggs, and these structures break off the worm and are released in along with feces. Taenia solium is the pork tapeworm. It is a relatively small tapeworm, growing only between 2 and 3 meters. The adult is going to get into the intestines, and it attaches, its scolex attaches, and then it takes nutrients from the adult. But the larval forms, the oncosphere larva, actually can move. So if the larva hatch from the eggs in the intestines, they can move from one area, from the intestines, to different areas of the body. And in humans, a commonly affected area is the nervous system. And what they do is they form these tiny little structures called nerve cells, where they basically sit there inside the cell and they transform the cell into their own little home. And they just stay there and don't cause any problems in general, unless you have a lot of them. But they can do this into the muscles as well. Typically, we get these worms if we eat undercooked meat, in this case pork. So here's the life cycle. There is a video here you can watch. So we start here. The eggs, or the proglottids, are passed into the environment. Cattle eat the grass or the hay, and when they do so, they ingest the eggs or the proglottids. The oncospheres hatch, penetrate intestinal walls, circulate around, can get into the muscles. If we're looking at cattle, we have Taenia saginata, that's the beef tapeworm. For pigs, it's Taenia solium. The oncospheres develop into cysticerci in the muscles. And so now we have these nice little nerve cells where there's this nice, basically, worm relaxing. Humans can get infected by eating raw or undercooked meat. And the adult will sit in our intestines and just take our nutrients. So actually, these worms were used by a lot of individuals in the past to try and help them lose weight. Hold on, there we go. No, there we go. And so in the early 1900s, late 1800s, people would use tapeworms to help them lose weight. So here's lard be gone, weight loss, the easy way, try, new and improved, now with live tapeworm eggs. This has occurred as late as, or as recent, I should say, as if you watch Monsters Inside Me, a mom ordered tapeworm eggs for her child because her child was in a beauty pageant. She wanted to make sure her child was thin enough. How crazy, right? And so I'm going to stop here because our next video will start with our nematodes, our roundworms, okay? Bye.